Right now we're going to take some music, and it's a preview to our next item, which is O'Connell bringing music, storytelling and revolution to glór in Ennis. Diarmuid de Faoite and Geraldine Cotter will very shortly be joining us in studio to promote the event that is taking to the stage at glór on May 24th at 8 p.m. But this is the song On Rev Thu Éireann Garrig that has been produced for the event, so have a quick listen. Now, wasn't that beautiful? I've just learned that wonderful song was sang by Shifra ní Éilí Duggan, and the piano was played by Geraldine Cotter, who's sitting across from me, I should say, in studio. Geraldine, that was very impressive.
Oh, sure. Shifra is an amazing singer, so she is, yeah. That was part of the story, which I'm sure the narrative that Diarmuid will go into now in a while. But in terms of the music, all the music was picked to punctuate the different stages of the production and the different stages of Daniel O'Connell's life. So Diarmuid is better positioned to speak all through about that.
Nice. I like that. You deflected attention to Diarmuid.
I did, yeah, I know. I'm a pro, really, haven't I?
That was very clever. And Diarmuid, we're going to throw you straight under the bus.
No worries.
So this performance is entitled O'Connell, yes. And it's about the life, politics and legacy of the great Liberator through powerful storytelling, original music arrangements and the cast of leading Irish musicians and performers. We certainly just heard from two of them right there. Diarmuid, could you tell us, how are you chronicling the life and the legacy of Daniel O'Connell through song?
Yeah, well, it's a big ask. He was a big figure. He was a big life and a big period in Irish history and in international history as well. So, there was a lot of work involved, basically. Head down and do the research and hey presto, we have a show. And we were delighted on its first iteration. We had glór sold out last year, so we'll be in glór again this Sunday. And basically, what I did was I broke it into a 3-act structure. So O'Connell's 3 pillars, you could say, were emancipation, abolition and repeal. So that became the structure of the show. So then it turned into, a narrative with 2 narrators to offer 2 opposing views. and with a bed of music and song underneath it. So the music and song moves with O'Connell from, we'll say, Kerry polkas at his birth down in Kerry, over to the court of Versailles in France, where his uncle was a pure royalist and in the French army. Then on to the French Revolution. We have a fantastic song from the French Revolutionary period into the 1798, onto the United Irishmen, the Young Irelanders, etc., etc. So basically, and so we go through that entire sweep, and then from the kind of, I suppose, the slightly bourgeois middle class society, we imagine Moore's melodies for that, and then into the Young Irelanders. Thomas Davis wrote that fantastic song, "The West's Awake." And into then the abolition of slavery. So there are wonderful songs from the period of the abolition of slavery and from the Underground Railroad and whatnot, you know. So we have a fantastic all-male local choir, Harmony Bro, under the direction of Michael Hennessy, who are going to do an amazing version of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, which I think they're calling Swing Down Chariot. Yeah. And we've got members of the Limerick Jazz Collective in, and they're going to do a Nina Simone number for us again, from the civil rights period, and then tragically, of course, O'Connell died at the height of the famine. So we're stripping away all the music at the end of the show, and we're left with just the human voice, singing one of the few surviving songs from that tragic period. But I suppose in terms of audience, you know, I don't think people really realise how important and what a megastar Daniel O'Connell was. His monster meeting on the Hill of Tara, they reckon there was 1 million people in attendance, and he organised 50 monster meetings nationally.
And as well, just important even to reinforce, this was when there was no media of any kind. This was just Bush telegraph information, and to gather 1 million people nowadays with all the social media we have would be a big undertaking. But to do it at a time when there was nothing like that, it was just purely his own charisma and the Bush telegraph. 1 million people,
exactly,
and
that.
There was no sound projection either.
That's right. So everything he said was reprinted then in the papers the following day, and that's how they got the word out. And I suppose the other thing in regards to O'Connell was, you know, the significance of his election in County Clare in 1828. He became the first Catholic in over 150 years to set foot in Parliament. So really, his election was the death nail in the penal laws, you could say, you know. And the British government regarded him as far more dangerous than any insurrection. They were terrified of him. And when he set up a political party then, the Repeal Party, and they managed to secure 42 seats in the Houses of Parliament. So what he managed to do then, he became the kingmaker in the Houses of Parliament between the Tories and the Whigs. So if they wanted, and that's how he got deals done, and that's how he managed to begin to initiate political change in Ireland, was by having that power, that control in the house, you know. So if the Tories were to get in, they had to do a deal with O'Connell in order to get their, you know, their whatever it is they wish to achieve across. Now, and sadly, I suppose, you know, at the height of the famine, he tended to side with the Whigs and the Liberals, and of course they had this policy of basically allow the market to do what it does, and that didn't work when it came to the famine. You know, what you needed was massive government intervention, but he understood that too late, and he actually tried to purchase the government stores in Cathersiveen to feed the people there, and of course Trevelyan refused. So that, you know, which is an indication of what but internationally, I mean, he was an extraordinary figure. So Gladstone described him as the best populist politician the world has ever seen. He, there were pictures of him the same way that we used to have pictures of John F. Kennedy and the Pope on display in houses in Ireland. In Germany, in Catholic Germany, they had pictures of him alongside the Sacred Heart. That's how significant they regarded his contribution. And the other aspect is his constant, he refused money from Irish America when it came with a request to tone down his opinions regarding the abolition of slavery. He was, so he fought tooth and nail for the abolition of slavery. And he saw that come in regards to the British Empire. But it was 20 years after his death, actually, before that was introduced into the statutes in the States, So, and they regard him as the father of modern, we'll say, Christian democracy in Europe.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, though, Diarmuid, that he never wavered in his beliefs, or he couldn't be shaken, like you mentioned there, from the Irish American lobby. It was always what he believed in. What he believed in was best for the people and his own viewpoints on the world. But it certainly sounds like even if traditional music or music in general might not be your point of expertise, that even if you're a history lover, there's something for you at this event. Geraldine, you're heavily involved in the music aspect of this.
In the music, I am, and I was very conscious of that. So when Diarmuid had his script made out for the production, we sat down and I had lists of pieces, and I went through archival material and old manuscripts, old books, to try and find things that would be appropriate to reflect the period we were dealing with. So we have a suite of 3 French pieces that were from the 17th, 18th and 19th century, and I created an arrangement of those pieces. We have
the court in Versailles.
The court in Versailles, to reflect the court in Versailles. We've Enchan van Vogt. We've actually a song that was composed by Tomás Rua O'Sullivan, which was in Kerry to celebrate Daniel O'Connell's election. We have things like O'Connell's March, which was composed for that, and that's being played by the Tulla Pipe Band. We have so many different things, really. The West's Asleep, a Thomas Davis song, and so
certainly a huge lineup there, and that will all be taking place in Glór this Sunday at
Sunday night,
and tickets I'm sure will be available online and from
there are some left, I think.
Glór.
Absolutely, yeah. On the Glór website, or give Glór a call. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Over 30 artists on stage, so we're really looking forward to performing in Glór once more.
Yeah, we have our house band and a whole heap of guests. Yeah.
It was super. Promises to be an amazing event for history lovers, music lovers, and more. My thanks to Geraldine, Cotter and Diarmuid de Faoite